Welcome to Real Estate 360, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate 360, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome, and thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate 360 program, your number one source for all of your real estate needs and education. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom Wilson, your host for the Wednesday edition of Real Estate 360. It comes to you daily, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., along with my co-host, Joe Kuchera and Laurie Graymont. So I hope you can tune in each of those days for different guests, different topics, all on real estate and real estate investing. If you can't make the live show, you can catch your podcast on RE360radio.com. And also my programs you can catch on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes. There's some things that you can go to my website for that will give you some education on a regular basis. TomWilsonProperties.com. We have a article that you can ask for that's how to select the best metro and product for investing in. It's a 19-page article with graphs and lots of data for all of you techies out there on what my methodology is for selecting an area and a product to invest in. We also have a weekly newsletter, which is economics newsletter written by a friend of our guest today and mine, who is an economist who, in one nice glance and 1 minute read, can keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of economics as it relates to real estate. So if you go on TomWilsonProperties.com and ask for the weekly newsletter, you will get that. It's a pleasure today to have our special guest, David Granzella, who is in Sacramento area. Known David for quite some time. We've been to some charities together and other real estate events, and I've gained a lot of respect for David. He's a investor of 13 years, I guess, or so, and like many of the real estate investment clubs and associations that have started up across the country over the past decade or so, David was looking for like-minded people and to learn more about investing. He couldn't find one, so he started his own. So we are very delighted to have David with us today. David, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate the time.
And his association in the Sacramento area is NorCalREIA, and he'll tell you more about that later in case you're in that region and would like to go take advantage of that great set of relationships and guests that he has. And that's NorCalREIA, R-E-I-A, Investment Club, which he started in 2004. So, David, tell us how you got interested in investing in the first place. Tell us about that path. How did you fall into that?
Actually, I was very fortunate. Right around when I was in college, I had an apartment, and I started cleaning up around the place, and the owners noticed that and asked if I would be interested in taking something off the rent for cleaning up the rest of the property, and I said I'd be delighted to, and it was in Burlingame, and started taking care of the properties from the physical aspect, and it turns out they had a number of properties right around, within a 4-block radius. As time went on, they decided that, hey, can you handle doing some other rentals? Can you handle the books? And eventually became their property manager. And it was, over the years, it was a great avenue. I've always had a passion. I'm Italian, and I know a lot of my family from days gone by were in the real estate side of it, and they would work their daytime jobs, and then at night they would go to their property, and weekends, and they'd enhance the properties. I was able to start that, and eventually I took over the books and everything else. I remember writing them checks every month, thinking, "Wow, I'd like to be on this end." of the transaction. And that's where the real estate bug was actually planted.
Which is probably not typical. Most people probably don't start off with the management side only, unless they're managing their own properties, and then see what the success is. But that's really gave you a good insight. You got to see the inside of the fact that, from a numerical standpoint, quantitative standpoint, it really worked.
And I was very fortunate to start off on the management side, seeing how difficult it was and not knowing any better. I guess if you don't know any better, you just keep on plugging through. And it turns out, obviously, we all know management is very important, is very critical in regards to your profit. Learning from the beginning how that was going to work or not going to work was very advantageous.
So what led then to your making the plunge to make your first investment?
Well, actually, I was laid off September 14th, 2001, and from corporate America, and I had gotten to the point where I didn't want my livelihood in anybody else's hands.
And tell the listeners what that career was that you got laid off from.
I had a number of careers in sales and marketing. One of them was working for Chick Jeans, CHIC, by Henry I. Siegel, the second largest pant manufacturer in the world. After that, I was working for a company up in Sacramento, managing their corporate coffee division. And out of September 11th or September 14th, got laid off, and corporate America wasn't working for me. And I had a young son who was about 14, 15 years old, and I wanted to take control of our lives. It was great having a company car and all the perks that go along with it, but it never gave me what I had in my heart, that intuitiveness, how I wanted to be my own boss and make my own decisions.
Now, typically, it's kind of tough to start off with your first investment when all of a sudden you have no income. So how'd you pull that off?
That was actually an interesting part, because I had a desire to get into the business for a long time. Unfortunately, there was a comfort factor with, as I mentioned, a company car, a salary, commission, all the perks that go along with that. Because I was comfortable, it didn't push me out of my comfort zone to go out and pursue what I wanted to do, because it was always there. When I got pushed out of my comfort zone, I had a savings account, had a nice home in Granite Bay, and decided that I was in a position to follow my dreams. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't as if I had $1 million in the bank, but I had enough money to get started. And more importantly, I realized as I look back on it, it was a huge desire to follow my dreams. And having gotten laid off, I just truly in my heart, that was really what it took, was there are no coincidences, I don't believe. And when the opportunity arose, I was fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of it in a very positive way. I remember when I was laid off that day, that afternoon, and my boss was in the office, and the vice president was in the office, and they laid me off, and they said, "Hey, hate to see it happen." I thanked them. I shook their hand, and I said, "We'll be back for a severance package." But I knew in my heart, truly did, that it was time. Although realization came within the next couple of days that things were changing, I knew that it was going to be okay, and it was.
As painful as it is at the time, and I've certainly, at times in my career path, have been out on the street. Most of the time, I think for most people, the other end of that tunnel is brighter. It nudges people to make a change and maybe spread their wings a little bit. And when they come from a position of the risk of having no income, then they're willing sometimes to take on something that's maybe a little riskier than they would have jumped into if they'd just gone from corporate to corporate job.
Correct. Absolutely. Matter of fact, I've been part of a men's group for, 14 years. We meet every Monday, and that group actually told me after I was planning, I'd get done some education, had a business plan in place. They're actually the group that actually said, "Pull the trigger, David." One of them, who's a large commercial real estate investor for a number of years, says, "At this point, you know more than I do. Pull the trigger." And it was because of their support that I was able to go out there and step off the cliff and never look back.
So what are some of the skills you made quick reference to management, but what are some of the skill sets and things that you learn in your corporate America jobs that you think helped you be successful in investing in real estate?
I'll start from the end and go forward. I really think it's a matter of taking action, just doing it. I've met a number of people that have a lot of education. I mean, high, expensive, quality education, some maybe not quality. But it's really a matter of getting out there and pulling a trigger. sales and marketing background in real estate. By the way, I'm an investor. I'm not a real estate agent or broker. I leave that up to the brokers and agents to do what they do. They do a great job, and I support them completely.
And they deserve to be compensated for it, right?
Absolutely. My theory is we all support our families. It's not up to me to try to wear every hat and not be confident that everybody's going to make a living from these transactions. And without each other, none of us are going to go forward.
So be willing to pull the trigger. So what? Go a little farther.
Have experience. Know what the values are. Find out. Get somebody that associate with a real estate agent, real estate broker, so you can get some information. So you can learn how to run the comps. Learn those values. I think one of the things is find an area where you like, where you're comfortable. Find an area close to you, and if you're in the Bay Area that it doesn't work for you, go someplace else outside of the Bay Area where you can find a little spot that you can get to know, so you know the neighborhood, what type of clientele is there, where they work, what lifestyle they have, what streets look like. You know one street from another. If somebody says, I have a property over on Maple Street, and you know it, you can say, well, that's a very desirable area. Unfortunately, that's 1 block from the freeway. You know?
Yep.
We all know, you know, it's location, location, location. So get to know a neighborhood, get to know an agent, get to know a broker so you can start learning the comps. Having an idea and a format, a paper format or electronic format, however you want, so you can go in there and evaluate the property so you can tell, is it going to need a kitchen? Is the kitchen going to be $8,000 or $10,000 kitchen? Does it need floors? Get your termite guy, get your pest control people in there to find out what value the property has, minus the repairs.
If I can read between the lines a little bit, though, I'm hearing some very be very organized and methodical about your approach.
I think we continuously learn that methods to our madness, as we oftentimes say. Without this, there's so many moving parts in our business, Tom, as you know. I admire you with your business in Texas. I mean, you have so many people working for you. You have so many moving parts in your corporations. You know, you get a lot of houses. You have to have them all repaired. You have to get them all to market. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yes,
and if any one of those is out of place, so can your profit. You'll put your profit out of place.
Indeed. One thing I was taught and learned early on, fortunately, is that, number one, you can't do everything, and number two, it's very easy, at least for me, to find others who are a lot smarter than I am about many different aspects of whatever I'm involved in, and I like to surround myself with them. We're with David Granzella today, a experienced investor and the president of the real estate NorCalREIA group in Sacramento, and we'll be back with him in a minute to learn more about what he's learned about real estate investing.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back. We have special guest David Granzella with us today, seasoned investor and the host and president and founder of NorCalREIA in Sacramento. And we're talking about David's experience with investing and what he's learned. David, what is tell us about one of your more successful real estate investments and why it was successful, and what did you do right about it to make it right? You know,
I would say one of my best investments, actually I learned a lot of that from you, is maintaining rentals. And I have a property in Sacramento on Iris Avenue that I bought probably about 3.5 years ago, and it produces consistent income and has great cash flow. And as well as some of the deals we've done in the past and also in the present that make us money on flipping, that's great to eat money. But long term, I really think multi-units, especially for me, 5 or more units, have played out to be an important part of my success. and I think most of the people. As you know, you're very successful in Dallas-Fort Worth, and it's one of the things I've watched you maintaining where you get cash flow. You may have possibly appreciation, nothing you can count on in this business, but if you have cash flow, you get mailbox money each and every month.
Yeah, for me,
I found that would be success to me.
Flipping has glamour that TV programs promote and so forth, exciting, but it's a very active business, right? You have to always do that. So to me, the core of real estate investing is to get long-term holds, assets that produce income now, like Robert Kiyosaki's promoted for almost 2 decades. And then if you really want to do something exciting and you don't have a day job and you want to try some flips for some extra money, do so. But that's treat that like going to Las Vegas. May or may not work out for you, right? But the core
isn't that the truth? The
core is to get assets that are going to produce income and from day one, not hopefully sometime in the future. Go ahead.
It's from day one, by the way.
Yes. Yep. What I think one of the mistakes people make in going to an area that has that's high end or is appreciated for a long time, like coastal cities, like we're in the San Francisco Bay Area, is that when times like this, like we had a drop, often people will, I think, go invest in something and try to convince themselves and their peers that it's cash flow when really it's barely under optimum conditions, and they actually in their mind know they're going to have to feed it, and they're just hoping that they're going to their gamble's going to pay off and they're going to make a killing on the appreciation in the future. And just as long as they know that what they're really doing is gambling on appreciation and not locking in something that has solid income and that works in their portfolio, okay. But don't do too many of those and think that's where your future retirement income is really going to come from.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think I can appreciate the word gambling. I think if it doesn't have cash flow, you are gambling. And my perspective, it better cash flow from the beginning.
Yep, indeed. What's one of the mistakes, investment mistakes you made?
I did a transaction a couple of years ago up in Yuba City, and it was a flip, and there was plenty of money to be made. And we provided a good product, a great product, as we always do. Unfortunately, when it went into contract, it was with an FHA, and the FHA appraisal came in and didn't count about 600 square feet of in-law quarters above the garage, which was permitted, had been there, was permitted, and according to the FHA appraiser, because it wasn't connected to the house through a stairway, although it was connected to the house, they weren't able to count it. So there was about $25,000 worth of our profit that went out the door. Although we did get a hearty check for $246 each when we were done.
I think on that same line, it's one of those things I've learned is that the more non-conforming a product is, whether it's non-conforming in the neighborhood or some addition or funky thing like that, the higher the risk is that it'll bite you because the appraiser doesn't agree with you or the market doesn't agree with you, so you got to be careful and not talking yourself into something that looks like it's a good deal when it's got a risk element with it. We're talking with David Granzella, an experienced investor and the president and founder of NorCalREIA in Sacramento, and we're learning from his experiences about real estate investing. And we will be back with you here in just a moment to continue on AM 1220 KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back. We have David Granzella with us today, the president and founder of NorCalREIA Investment Club in Sacramento and a longtime investor. David, we were talking before the break here a little bit about flipping and how it's definitely more speculative than buying assets for long-term hold for income. I am sure you get, as I do, many folks that they get so excited, they hear about others that, of course, only tell their winning stories. They don't tell about the difficulty and horror stories, and TV tends to glamorize it. What would you tell people who come to you and say, "Geez, David, I'd like to make some money from this flipping. It looks like everybody's doing it, and it looks like it's not too hard to do." What do you tell them?
It's pretty simple, Tom. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not that easy. It's not easy. It's high risk, high stress. But another thing is you have to have a passion for this. It can't be the people that I've seen come into the business that are very smart people are coming in just to make the money and make a hit and run. It just seems you need to have that passion for what you're doing behind it. If you don't, I just don't see as much success. I've seen people with less money, with more passion, more drive behind them, find greater success.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think it's a great market. I think people have to ask themselves a question: what are they trying to accomplish? Like you said, are they trying with your Dallas Fort Worth properties? Are they supposed to? Are they looking for long-term income, retirement income? Are they looking for a quick fix? Another thing is sometimes people say, "I'm broke. I have no money, and I need to make money quick, and I need to make large sums of money." Not the business to be doing that, you know. Not that I believe in the stock market, but I think you probably have better chance in the stock market than you do in real estate if that's what your task is trying to accomplish.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts, aren't they? And in this day and age, where we're now several years after the '08 crash on this broadcast, it's the inventory is very low, margins are very low, a lot of competition. The easy stuff has a lot of demand. It is. I would say if someone wants to get into it, they really should partner up with somebody that's got experience doing it. It is not as easy as they make it look like on TV.
I met with somebody for lunch yesterday for that exact same situation. They wanted to start to become a wholesaler really quick. No money, no experience, no knowledge. Been to a couple of our meetings and really got the bug, which I'm grateful for. I think it's a good bug for him to have, but without a plan and without some type of mentorship and program with relationships, you're doomed to fail. You have to hook up with somebody. By the way, that's what I did. That's how I met you, Bruce Norris, Sean O'Toole, all these people, Howard Blum. I started to ask questions and ask the people that were, like you said earlier, these people who are a lot smarter than I am, how are you doing it? Just sit there and listen. I found myself to just go to places and be a quiet little sponge and absorb all there is to learn from other people. And you hit it on the head. It's not just from their successes. How can I learn from their mistakes?
Yeah, I tell people often that it's important to learn, figure out how you learn best. And some people learn best from books and tapes or classes. And, for me, I learn best by finding people who are experienced and more knowledgeable than I am in a particular area, and go sit down with them and ask them questions. And that's how my passion for learning is, and that's where I absorb and retain the most. So I think that's really, really important to tap on others. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. We have David Granzella with us today, who's the president, founder of NorCalREIA in Sacramento. We're going to talk about that when we get back here from the break, and we'll be back just shortly after this message. We're on AM 1220 KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network, and we'll be back with David Granzella in just a couple of moments.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Tom K. Wilson.
Welcome back. We have David Granzella with us today from Sacramento. who's the president and founder of NorCalREIA, as well as an experienced investor. David, tell us about your organization. When did you start it and why, and what's its content and format like?
Actually, I started the club in 2004. We were actually at the time, I've lived in Sacramento, Granite Bay area since the mid-'90s, and as I mentioned earlier, about 2001, got into the real estate business. And outside of the Bay Area, there really weren't many investment clubs, if any, up here, of any value. So, started my own club. Actually, I should rephrase that. Got a number of like-minded people together, and probably started with 15, 20, and never had any intention of starting a club. But one of the things I found, we were all looking for information, and I just started contacting people, go on the internet, found Bruce Norris, found a number of people from Southern California, found you came into my life and a number of other people, and we just started meeting. Then we started having people come up and speak before the group, and the club NorCalREIA just evolved, and that's what we are. We're not a books and tapes club. We're an educational club. Each month we provide a service, and we're always on the second Wednesday. We meet at the Crown Plaza, which is off of Highway 80 Madison Avenue, from 7 to 9:30, second Wednesday. And the format just turns out we need to find out what's happening in this market. As a matter of fact, next month in September 11th, is our meeting and discussion. It's going to be a panel discussion, how to keep the money you make this time. One of the things is we're all having a great run, don't get me wrong. But as you and I both know, things change. It's cyclical. And I want everybody to be aware of the factor, what are you going to look for when the market corrects this time? Because it will correct. Matter of fact, we have a Laurel Sagan, Robert Taylor, Gordy McCarty will be speaking. Laurel's going to be sharing how she accumulated $8 million worth of real estate last run, and she lost it all. Not only did she lose it all, she was also another $200,000 cash out of her pocket. She's back in action. She's doing well, and she's accumulating more wealth, and she's going to keep it this time. There's something about losing money that's a great educator.
It's kind of like watching a train wreck, isn't it? You can't take your eyes off of it. So when there's a failure, boy, I think smart people will say, gosh, it's painful to look at, but I'm going to study this, figure out what I can learn from it so I'll never do that again.
And I think that's the key. And as you and I were sharing with earlier, talking to people who have been through it so we can learn from that. And that's one of the reasons we have the club. There's a lot of skill sets that we have. You've been very kind to us over the years to be a regular speaker for us. You share a lot of information with your background, both in real estate and tech. You're great at business planning, which has been very helpful to a lot of us. We really appreciate that.
Thank you, David. Tell us about some of the other speakers you have coming up this year.
You know, every March we have Bruce Norris, and if you're in this business, you should go to the norrisgroup.com. Probably one of the key players in this business, especially in California. Great format. We have Sean O'Toole from Foreclosure Radar, now it's Property Radar. If you're in this business, it's probably one of the best tools you'll have in here. And again, get Property Radar. Go to propertyradar.com. They actually have a free 30-day trial, no strings attached, great format. Also, as I mentioned earlier, you want to get a hold of an agent where you can have access to the MLS or at least access to the information, because if you don't know what's out there, you're never going to be able to make intelligent decisions. With the club, like I say, we have the speakers. We want to find out how to make money in this business. We have one of our speakers, we've had Mary Morangiello. She's out of Sonoma. She's actually just completed her 91st flip. Well, and if you don't think that's a lot of flips in this
she's
business,
a great resource. I love Mary. You've had John Reed on. You've had Howard Blum.
Oh, Howard's great too. Yes.
What I love about your association is there's absolutely there's no sales going on. In fact, you forbid it, and it's all education oriented, networking, relationship building. It's you run a really great organization, David, and it pulls in close to 100 people for regular meetings, and some of the bigger speakers you'll pull 150. So it's a lot of people to build relationships and networks with and to learn from.
And it's been a lot of fun. Matter of fact, Mary's going to put on a seminar on Saturday, September 21st, and I'm looking forward to it. Somebody in this business that can flip 91 houses, or as yourself, with all the properties you do Dallas-Fort Worth. You know, those are properties that you keep and your portfolio or your marketing with your program down there, and I think that's a great opportunity. You put a lot of houses back on the market.
And I I do, and I'm proud of that, and I know Bruce is too. At taking blights out of communities and making housing good for people to rent or own again. And so it's you and I both believe very strongly in win-wins, and if you do something, do it right, give out, you'll get rewarded for it.
I think so too.
Yeah. Let's see, we got a minute or so here for the end of this before this break is ended. Where do you think things are headed? You get to interface with these speakers, a lot of smart people, and where do you think our economic future is going in real estate? Do you think real estate's still like a good asset for inflation hedge? Do you?
I think it's one of the best. If you're talking about both retirement income and a hedge against inflation, I don't think there's a safer place to put it. There's been a lot of speculation on gold and stocks, on silver. You know what? I'm not quite sure. I do know people need a place to live. I think it's a great hedge against inflation. I think it's a good format. It's a safe. They're not, it's like they land. They're not making any more of it. You can find a place to park your money and get cash flow, and it's a safe. Forget about the appreciation. If you've got a property, this is the same format you put out there, the same product you put out there. If you get cash flow out of it and you can leverage it. By the way, even though the cost of money is greater than it was, say, a year and a half ago, it's still free. I remember the old days on properties. We had loans on our house for, I think it was 16 to 18%. When you're getting money for under 5%, that's pretty much free money. If you've got a 30-year loan at a fixed rate, you know what your mortgage is going to be. Rents are probably going to go up. So along the way, not only are you making money today, with the increase in rent, you're going to make more money.
Thank you, David.
Yes.
Thank you. We'll got to take a quick break, and then we'll let people know how to get hold of you and a little bit more about the club.
That'd be great.
We've got David Granzella with us today, Granzella, and we on AM 1220 KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network. So we'll be right back with David Granzella and get his little wrap-up and how you can get hooked up with him.
For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Tom K. Wilson.
It's been great having David Granzella with us today, who's a longtime investor and the founder and president of NorCalREIA in Sacramento. David, what was your crystal ball guess as to where you think market is headed? I know we're not going to let you get off the program without throwing that out there. Like I said,
I was wondering if I was going to get off that easy, but I guess not. I'll just parrot some of the things I've learned from both you and Bruce Norris. I think we got about an 18-month run here where we'll have appreciation, maybe wild appreciation possibly again, but we'll have appreciation. I think after that all bets are off. I worry about, let me rephrase that. I'm concerned about the inflation, without a doubt, and hyperinflation. Also, without a doubt, eventually these loans are going to go up. The price of money is going to go up. And that's going to change things. And I think if anything major happens with a government intervention within that 18 months, something else could change. I think now's a fabulous time to get involved with real estate. Flipping's a good time, but also, more importantly, as you mentioned earlier, is getting properties, real estate investments with cash flow. I particularly like multi-units. Single family is a good safe place. Park your money in real estate.
I think we don't have to panic, but start to execute your plan here, because we don't know how long this window is going to last before it closes. David, how can people reach you and your club website?
Thank you for asking. It's David Granzella. If you go to www.NorCalREIA, NorCalREIA.com, all the information, you can sign up for free emails. We have seminars coming up. You can reach me in my office, area code 916-791-8322. Answer any questions. We're in the Sacramento area. We're the largest Northern California real estate club. Glad to answer any questions and provide education for you.
Great. great quality organization. Highly recommend it, and we're honored to be associated with it. David, thanks so much for being with us today. And again, if you go to TomWilsonProperties.com, you can get a weekly newsletter that's written by one of David's speakers, Howard Blum, on what's going on in the world of economics as it relates to real estate. You can also request a how to select the best metro and product to invest in. And on the website also, TomWilsonProperties.com, there are a lot of investor information about frequently asked questions, why I invest where I do, and how the methodology is that we go about for doing that, and what products are currently available with our organization, Wilson Investment Properties. So as always, it's great having you with us. David, thank you again for being with us. We remember Real Estate 360 is on 5 days a week at 3 o'clock, and if you miss the actual broadcast, you can always go to RE360radio.com, or for my broadcast, you can go to TomWilsonProperties.com, or you can go to iTunes and pull up the broadcasts that have the particular topics and particular speakers that you would like to listen to. So again, thank you for being with us, and thanks to David for being with us on this show, and I hope you can attend one of his club meetings. So RE360 again is 5 days a week at 3 p.m. With my co-host Joe Kuchera and Joe Kuchera and Laurie Graymont, and this is AM 1220 KDOW, the Wall Street Business Network. Thanks for being with us.
You've been listening to Real Estate 360 on AM 1220 KDOW. For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. AM 1220 KDOW.